Hey, everybody, this is the Counterpoints podcast. I'm GB, got Brian and Coop with me. What's going on, guys?
All good.
Yeah.
Man,
Crazy week.
Yeah, man. Real life and sports, right? So we got it's September the 10th, 2024. We got a little bit of college talk. We'll talk about Colorado. We'll talk about Texas and Michigan, about USC. A couple games Coop and Brian are going to be watching this week. We'll do the same for the NFL, talking about the Chiefs and Ravens. We'll talk about the Packers, Eagles from the Brazil, talk about the Vikings and the Giants, the Raiders and the Chargers, the Jets and the Niners, and then any other games that kind of, get thrown in the mix, and also a look ahead to this Sunday coming up. So let's get to it, man. Starting with the college games. Colorado, they played Nebraska, right?
Yeah. Maybe they played. I mean, it
was gonna
didn't
say,
look like
yeah.
much of a showing.
I don't know what you could call it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You want to go first? You want me to?
Yeah, I know. I'll go first. I had the pleasure this past weekend of watching all of these games all day on Saturday and Sunday, right next to Brian at his house. Appreciate
Nice,
the
that's right.
hospitality. But yeah, like I took a lot of notes on a lot of games. So we'll start with this one. Not much to say. That I'm just happy Colorado lost. I don't like their attitude, their so-called swag or whatever it is they're supposed to have with Coach Prime. They do a lot of yapping, but they don't back it up on the field. Nebraska, I only knew one player on the field for Nebraska. That was the quarterback, Riola. He's a highly rated high school player last year, so I wanted to see him play. Colorado, I saw play a few times last year. And the difference between both of these teams that I saw, I don't know if you saw this, Brian, but Nebraska was more cohesive to me. They were more together, whereas Colorado, when things were going wrong, they were kind of all over the place. We saw Shedeur Sanders, being condescending, yelling at teammates and things like that. It wasn't of a galvanizing attitude or atmosphere with Colorado, and they ended up getting blown out, which I was happy to see. Other than that, I still don't think Colorado's a good team. I never thought they were a good team, not even last year. And I was just happy to see Nebraska win because Colorado's pretty much ado about nothing. What about you, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, we were sitting right next to it, and I commented numerous times about the fact that it's very obvious that this team does not like Shedeur Sanders. When he got sacked, which happened numerous times, his linemen went right back over and waited for him to get his butt back up and get into the huddle. They were not going over there and picking him up and dusting him off. They were not apologizing. And then he was constantly yelling at someone and being rude and disrespectful to his teammates. There's one point where it was clear that he threw to the wrong place, and he yelled at Travis Hunter about it. And then, later on, he was yelling at the lineman because he was under constant pressure. But, we've all seen people give the Olay treatment for quarterbacks that they don't like. And it seemed obvious that there were a couple times where they're like, I'm not going to kill myself to try and block for this guy because he's not someone that they have confidence in. And everyone talks about one of the biggest signs of success for a quarterback is whether they can command the huddle and command the respect of the teammates. And Shedeur Sanders has none of this. I don't see how he could possibly be an NFL drafted quarterback at all. There is nobody who got drafted last year who looks as bad as he does this year. And at the beginning of the season, they were talking about him being a top quarterback draft pick. It's just unrealistic. On the other side of on the same team, but on the other side of the situation was Travis Hunter. So many people have been talking about Travis Hunter as a top 10, top 15 pick. I don't see it. I think he gets drafted, but he is a good wide receiver and a good cornerback. The problem is that good players in the NFL get eaten alive. And he is not a great wide receiver or a great cornerback. Being kind of good at both is a novelty that you can do in college because you're playing both directions on a team that sucks and isn't going to go anywhere. But when you're trying to do that stuff in the pros, it's a whole new ballgame. I did want to see Dylan Raiola, and I did think that he was actually pretty solid. I mean, it's early in his career and early in his time, but he's starting from a position of solid. I will say that the I want to be like Patrick Mahomes thing might be going a little too far, but so be it. He's a kid.
Especially with that haircut. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he's got the weight. He's got the band on. He's got the haircut. He's got the warm up.
Like
the
same type of warm up.
They said his 15 isn't because of Mahomes though.
That's what they say, but he has a haircut just like Mahomes.
And his warm-up
and that's his idol. His idol's Mahomes. I mean, he said, and they say on telecast, Glenn, when me and Brian was watching, he talks to Mahomes. He has his number. He talks about once a week.
They talk frequently.
I mean, it's whatever. But I'm
Yeah,
with you on
he has
Travis
another
Hunter.
quarterback that's his godfather, and it was Mahomes is his friend. Anyways, but
Yeah.
look, more power to him. Like I said, he's a young kid.
Yeah,
Have
careers
fun
are
with
getting
it.
started. Yeah.
Real quick, do y'all
yeah.
know why he wears 15 though?
No,
Why?
Because Tim Tebow was his favorite college quarterback.
Oh wow, that's interesting.
Just want to throw that out there, get some
Wow.
reactions.
Okay. All right.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I'm real quick. I'm with you on Travis Hunter. I think he gets drafted. I don't think he's an impact player on the professional level. He's small to me. He's just real small. And then Shador Sanders, if Desmond Ritter can get drafted, then he can too. So Shador Sanders will get drafted. I'm not sure. He
No.
won't be an impact player, but he'll
That's
get
fair.
drafted.
Who Shador
Yeah.
Sanders will get drafted?
Yeah, he'll get
The
drafted.
only reason he gets drafted is because there's somebody over there that's sucking up to Coach Prime or whatever.
Yeah.
But he should not.
There's 7 rounds though.
I don't know what'll happen. He shouldn't be playing in the college game the way he played. You need a quarterback rating of 24. College numbers and college QBR ratings are not supposed to be the same.
And
anyways,
GB, I'm Brian. Then let me tell you this.
Yeah.
We both agreed on this one. The dude, Glenn, he holds the ball way too long. Some of those sacks went out on the offensive line. I mean, he looked like Justin Fields out there. Seriously, he was really holding the ball for seriously a long time. He got sacked 7 times.
I won't say the Justin Fields comment, but way too long.
He was holding it long.
Let's slide to the next game. What about Texas, Michigan? How was that? No Harbaugh.
Brian,
I woke
Brian,
up
you were up for that one
to watch that game, expecting it to be pretty competitive, and it didn't take long. So the score didn't get out of hand until about halftime, but it didn't take long to understand that Michigan was not that team, and Texas is for real. They played with confidence. They played well. They spread the ball around. They made big things happen, and I think that Texas showed why they're a top 10 team. 3 might still be a little high, but why they're a top 10 team and why Michigan is not going to be a top 10 team at the end of the season. I understand that they have a complicated schedule, and kind of honestly, I was hoping that they could get exposed in the USC game, not the Texas game. But Michigan is just not that. And I like Sharon Moore, and I really hope that he's successful, and I'm rooting for him because he did it the right way. He's not Coach Prime. But ultimately, this was a game of 2 teams who were in different weight classes at this point in time, and Texas was clearly the better team. It'll also be interesting to watch the quarterback battle, because if the Texas quarterback messes up even a little bit, there's going to be a lot of people who want Manning in. But he looked really solid when he threw for 3 touchdowns and only 250 yards. But he was doing the thing. He made it happen. They played a great game.
Yeah, Glenn, I was so confident in this game, I didn't even want to watch it. I said when we did our pre-show, Michigan is definitely overrated. They lost too many players on that team. Forget the coach. They just lost so many players that were seniors.
Sure.
This is not even remotely close to the team as last year. So yeah, last year this would have been a great game, Michigan versus Texas. But this year it's just so much talent on Texas, and you got all these guys who didn't play last year that's playing for Michigan. It's just a mismatch. The point spread was only 6. This was definitely an easy double-digit victory for Texas. This is pretty much the same Texas team from last year and a new Michigan team playing each other. So the score didn't surprise me at all. I tried to get up and watch it, but I just decided to not watch it. If that makes sense. Started at 9 a.m. I didn't wake up till 12:15 that day, GB.
Fair.
But Brian filled me in, though. Brian filled me in. I saw the score.
Fair. Okay. What about the next game y'all had on the docket, which was USC?
I'll go first. I'll be short too. USC, they were impressive against LSU. I talked about USC's defense in the last 3 years because they had players on there that look like me, so I know they're not any good. And they had a Mountain West defense. That's why they were giving up so many points. I mean, they had problems with jet sweeps and screen passes. And you said USC defense was trash. They got a new defense coordinator this year, and this guy, the first thing I saw in the LSU game last week was the tackling. They weren't missing any tackles. USC had a problem tackling. They had a problem tackling Arizona and any other Pac-12 team. They tackled against LSU. That was very impressive. They got their man. They looked really good last week. They followed up playing Utah State this week, and they just went out there and they handled business. It looked like they got a player at quarterback, and they should be a threat. They haven't played Ohio State or anything like that, but they should win some games this year. They look better than I thought. So props to USC and the defense coordinator they have. I forgot his name. I think Deontay Lynn or something like that. But they look different defensively this year, GB, and it starts with their tackling and their attitude and their aggressiveness, which they did not have over the last few years. So props to USC.
Yeah, like you said, they went out there and handled business. They looked really strong against LSU, and they looked even better. It's actually important that they got and kept the shutout in this game going down the stretch. The last time that they had a shutout was 11 years ago against UCLA. I understand that this is a Utah State team, but being able to do that sends a message that down the line with backup players that they still have the depth to maintain a shutout, and that was important. On the offensive side, Miller Moss looks legit, and people are going to comment on the fact that he doesn't have a lot of touchdowns. He had the 6 touchdowns in the bowl game, but this is intentional by game planning. Everyone was expecting USC to come out here and just sling the ball, and they are absolutely pounding teams in the run game. They had 253 rushing yards in this game. That is completely impressive, and every time they got inside the 10, they were just handing the ball and running it down their throat and getting the touchdowns that way. They had 5 touchdowns on the ground in this game and only 1 touchdown through the air. And that is because of the way that the offense is being called. There was variety. They mixed it up. They would go shallow. They would go deep. They would pound the ball constantly. I like what they're doing, but obviously the real improvement is on defense. And hats off to Jaden Maeva, who came in late, and he was the runner-up for the quarterback position, who immediately came in and went 8 for 11 for 66 yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He didn't look like he didn't look like this was the first time he was throwing a ball in a game. And not to say that there's any quarterback controversy because Miller Moss is real, but they have next year and the year after that kind of sorted out with Jaden Maeva there as well.
Sick. What about this week? Who are you guys interested in seeing?
Who are you interested in seeing this week?
Well, the most important game is obviously, I think SC has a break and then they get Michigan. But let's see who they got this week. Who's your team playing?
Miami. They play in Ball State. That's really nothing to talk about.
But you're not interested in, you don't think your team's gonna have a competition?
No, not at all. State? Not at all. If you can tell me what the mascot is, I mean, that'll be about as much as I know about Ball State.
Well, we have more ranked games this week, right? So we have Arizona and Kansas State. Arizona's 20th, Kansas State is 14, and Kansas State is favored by 7.5. I really don't know enough about either of these teams because ever since Arizona is no longer in the Pac-12 or Pac-2, I've kind of stopped following them. But it's a game that I'll watch also because it's on a Friday night. It's nice time for a game. Do you have any thoughts on that game? Because it's really one of the few double-ranked team games this week.
Which one?
Arizona versus Kansas State.
Oh, Arizona versus Kansas State. Oh, I'm pulling for Arizona. I just like that program. They usually put out some decent wide receivers. Their quarterbacks usually have decent. Not really a big Kansas State guy. They're pretty boring to me to watch. So I'll be rooting for Arizona. And if I'm actually home at that time, they play Friday 5:00. I will probably watch that game. But there is one game of interest to me, and that's Oregon and Oregon State. Oregon to me hasn't really looked that good this year. Boise State gave them a run, and then last week they struggled as well. I see that's a 16-point spread between them and Oregon State, an old Pac-12 rival. I guess they call it the Civil War or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see if that game is close as well, because Oregon hasn't been beating teams like blowing them out like they usually do. So I think there's a step down in coaching and maybe a step down in talent, where Oregon State probably can keep that close and represent for the 2-team Pac-12.
Pac-2.
Yep, Pac-2.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Well, 2-0 Wisconsin's going up against the number 4 Alabama. I still think that Alabama's overranked. I don't necessarily expect that Wisconsin's going to be the one that beats them, but I do think that a close game and a hard-fought battle where Wisconsin beats the spread could finally make people understand that Alabama is not the same Alabama of the last decade. But we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, without saving that recruiting, that's going to be different. Okay.
Yeah. One more thing. So Utah plays Utah State, the team USC just beat. It'll be interesting to see if USC put a beating on Utah State, where in the second half they might get blew out against Utah, because sometimes that happens. You just run out run out of gas after getting beat up the weekend before. But other than that, I don't see any other games on the schedule.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right to the NFL, my guy. So starting with we're back, man. It's first season at a NFL, very exciting. Lost every fantasy matchup, so we're right back to form. So starting with the first game Thursday night, we had the Chiefs and the Ravens out in KC. Close game, but Ravens couldn't do it. What y'all
Was it
think about
close?
that one?
Go ahead, B. What's your thoughts on this game?
Well, I think the refs earned their paycheck. There was all those jokes about how the Chiefs had to sign them to a $200 million deal, so they got their money's worth. Look, it's not. I totally understand that the Ravens did all the things that they got called for, but it was called, even if it was called very close, they were doing it. They were lining up offside, but it was so blatantly happening on the other side for the Chiefs nonstop. The fact that the referees just swallowed their whistle about something that they were calling constantly on the other side is just disappointing. But also amusing was watching the assistant coach, which everyone knows you can't call timeouts, run down the thing and stand in the guy's face. So it wasn't like he heard timeout and the guy was way over there and he didn't know who was the coach or the assistant coach. He ran down and jumped in his face to call the timeout. Not an iota, nothing else. As far as the actual football of it, look, I think there were some great things to see. I think Xavier Worthy proved that you give speed and you put him in a situation for Patrick Mahomes to throw to, and it's dangerous, right?
Hated it.
What's that? You hated it? Yeah, you hated it because it looks so much
tough.
like a young Tyreek Hill,
yeah, he's gonna be tough.
which gives all DBs fit. But anyways, it was good to see that. It was good to see Isaiah Likely have a career game. Hopefully he'll be fine after a little ding. He came back, almost caught a touchdown. There was a lot of intrigue at the end of that game. And these were two very, very good teams. I don't think the Chiefs proved that they were definitively better. But most importantly, they walked away with the win. So,
yep.
Yeah,
Cool.
with KC, on the KC side, I just think they got better. They had Rashee Rice last year. They got Xavier Worthy this year. He looks like a guy that'll have 10 total touchdowns this season. The way they used him was great. But this game to me, though, was all about Baltimore coming in. I really didn't care about KC because my feelings about KC would not change whether they won or lost. This game was about Baltimore. They embarrassed themselves in the playoffs last year. You had the MVP. You put up 10 points. You throw an interception in the end zone, you're skipping passes on the ground. So you need to come out and prove that you can actually beat Kansas City in an important game because let's face it, Baltimore just doesn't beat they don't win important games. And so this was all about Baltimore.
I honestly thought you could say the same thing about the Niners and KC, but carry on.
Oh, well, not really.
How many Super Bowls they got?
Lamar's 2-4, Brock 6-1, but okay.
No, I'm saying y'all ain't beat KC since I was in high school.
That's true. Maybe.
But yeah, carry on. Sorry. I'm talking my ish, man. Carry on.
Okay, no, it's all good. So, I'm watching this game and I mean, what can you say? Steve Spagnuolo, defense coordinator, he just continues to work. Yeah, Lamar Jackson just continues to work him, man.
Everybody.
Lamar just can't complete passes downfield. And this is the reason why they can't beat Kansas City and why Buffalo and Cincinnati can. Burrow can complete passes downfield against KC. So can Josh Allen. Lamar can't. This guy was finicky. He missed two wide open guys where there was absolutely no pressure. All he had to do was just set and throw the ball. It was a layup, and he missed guys. I mean, but this doesn't happen this game. It happens, seems like every single time he plays KC, he just can't figure out what to do with the ball. And he's the reason why he just can't beat KC. I mean, a lot of people think this game was close. To me, I think these teams are miles apart from each other, and the difference is because of the quarterback
not close,
position.
Jason? Wait a minute.
No. These teams
on the last play by a
okay.
Millimeter
Good. These teams are miles apart from each other.
Close?
Baltimore does not beat Kansas City. They don't beat them. You got to actually beat them for time.
Foolish.
You got to beat them. These teams.
Jason, you can say that one team won, but to say that the game wasn't close, given the way that the game ended, given the disparity in penalty calls, is just silly.
Good. Lamar had average air yards at one time of 1 yard. Chris Collinsworth said 1 yard. How you beating KC?
Do you like Chris Collinsworth?
1 yard average time? Okay.
Do you like
1
Chris Collinsworth?
yard.
Do you like Chris Collinsworth?
We
Did he
did.
tell the truth? Thank you.
No,
1 yard.
wait,
I
did
don't
you
care if
like
I
Chris
liked him.
Collinsworth?
I don't.
So now
It
you're
doesn't
touting.
matter. He told the
So now
truth.
you're touting him.
1 yard, air yard.
We
Thank
beat
you.
we beat KC throwing no passes and a half,
Uh,
so it's possible.
I mean, please, come on, man.
There
You
you
think
go.
3 yard passes
But,
to Likely, and then Likely does all the
so
work.
maybe we
Like,
do need to add that time back so Jason can talk about quarterbacks he actually likes, because
oh man,
the hatred is
please.
deep. But anyways, moving
No,
on.
no. Just
You know,
because you
you
think
think
he's a
it's
pocket
close.
passer, he
I think most
sucks.
people think you're
He
citing
can't
hairs.
throw from the pocket, dude. Watch the game and stop
Jason,
lying to
Jason,
yourself, man.
you said
Stop
the
lying
game
to
was not
yourself.
close. That is a
Damn.
silly
I
statement.
don't
We
care
can
about the
move on.
score. Just because the score is close. No, we'll move on when I tell you the
No,
score
hell
is
no.
not
Hell
indicative
no.
of the game.
You
One
can make
team got
yourself look
better.
more silly if you want, man, but people are going to hear you say,
This,
you right, that game was not close.
Kansas City got better and Baltimore did not.
Yes,
okay?
yes, producer.
They lost their offensive line and they lost their offensive line coach. They lost the defense
You
coordinator.
don't need to say more words to sound sillier. Going on.
I'm very curious.
You sound silly liking bums, dude.
I'm very excited.
Sitting there lying, talking about he can throw. Man, please, you look crazy.
When I get
man.
off, I'm very curious. I hope I can hear the shows when I'm not here, because man,
keep
this in mind
podcast?
for the fans. Man. You know what I'm saying? B, what you think?
Oh, I already said what I think. I also want to say, I did not say he could throw. I didn't say anything great about Lamar Jackson. I said you're crazy if you say that game wasn't close. Moving on.
That game wasn't close, man.
Give me
if they play again, you really think Baltimore's going to beat Kansas City?
We'll talk the conversation.
I kind of
the next one. Packers Eagles.
I got to ask the same about y'all, man. But anyway, the Packers played the Eagles in Brazil, where apparently their biggest gang wears green. Not gang green, not this Packers, the actual Brazil favela boys. So, but game was good. Interesting enough on a Friday, Saquon was getting busy. What y'all think about that game?
Man, I'll start with Philly, man. Philly should have won the game by more. Jalen Hurts was kind of a roller coaster in this game, man. He had his ups, he had his downs. I don't give Green Bay any credit for the interceptions that they got because Hurts threw it right to him. But you can sort of tell that Hurts is a different quarterback since the OC left. He also gets a little bit more flustered. He's like a series type player. It's like one series looks really good, another one he looks like Daniel Jones. But what I did notice is that Kellen Moore, the offense coordinator, put him in motion. And when he was in motion, he went 15 for 21 for 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. Did really good when he was in motion, when he was moving. But when he was in the pocket, just without motion, he was 5 for 13 for 6 yards for 2 interceptions. It's really not who Hurts is. Really can't keep him in the pocket. Got to get him on the move so he can run and he can pass the ball. But it looks like to me, though, looking at the Eagles team, for them to be successful, the defensive line has to dominate, just like the year they went to Super Bowl. Well, that and Purdy getting hurt. But the Packers ran for 163 yards on the Philadelphia Eagles, and they got guys like Jordan Davis, who the guy who battles weight issues. He's a new guy. A lot of people thought they had the best non-quarterback in the draft, Jalen Carter. Where were they at? They had no edge pressure against Green Bay. Their linebackers are still below average, like I've said for 3 years. They got a guy named Bryce Huff from the Jets. Where was he at? So that defense wasn't looking all that, spectacular, just like last year when I guess they claim they fixed it. And then on the other side, you got Green Bay. And the only thing I'm really looking at is Jordan Love, who's, I guess, everybody's, top 10 quarterback now. And then you got the defense coordinator for Green Bay. So for Jordan Love, first half was okay. Second half, he was really erratic. He was throwing balls all over the place. I think he went 17 for 34, only completed 50% of his passes. I guess he was doing his Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers imitation. He was throwing off his back foot fading away for no reason. I didn't know what he was doing and why he was throwing like that, because he had clean pockets with no pressure. And his receivers, he has a deep group of receivers. They were getting open, but he was just throwing inaccurate passes. So maybe it's just one game jitters. I don't know, but I guess we'll see for the rest of the season. And then the defense coordinator, the guy they got from Boston College, who was a defense coordinator there for 1 year, everybody said he was supposed to fix this defense, and all I saw was his defense get shredded. The Eagles ran for 144 yards and threw for 280. And if Hurts didn't throw that interception at the 5-yard line and in the end zone, if they'd had that fumble, they would have lost by a lot more. So the Eagles putting up 34, they would have put up probably 45, maybe 50. So, I mean, that was my takeaway from the game. I don't really have a takeaway for the teams because the field was so bad, but I think the NFL should be lucky that nobody tore an Achilles, because that field was horrible. What about you, Brian? What you think about the game?
Well, you do remember that Jordan Love left the game with an MCL sprain and is out for a month. So that field did take a casualty. Yeah, the things that I thought were interesting in the game was actually, and I could go into all the stuff that you were saying, but instead I'll just move on to the things that I thought were pretty interesting. One, Saquon Barkley looked amazing. I don't know if this is like first game out. I want to show the world and especially the Giants that they screwed up, but he really looked amazing. He was receiving. He had two receptions for a touchdown. He also had 2 on the ground. He was running hard. He had 110 yards rushing, and he looked like the Saquon Barkley who was healthy before all the injuries in the with the Giants. That was impressive. What was also impressive was that they were giving him the ball close and that they could not do the tush push. They weren't able to execute it at all in this game. That left tackle, who's retired and making a lot more than we are for doing podcasts,
center, I thought.
is clearly his absence is making a difference because they could not do their 4th and 1s, 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s the same way they were doing it before. But they figured it out pretty quickly. They realized they had Saquon Barkley, and they went a different direction. On the Packers side, there's Packer fans, which we have a few that are friends. They're all like giving up on the entire season because Jordan Love was out. And the reason for that was the minute Jordan Love got hurt, and it was at the end of the game. So, the game was pretty much over, but there was still a chance. The minute they saw Malik Willis start warming up, it was amazing. Like if you could saw a scan of all these faces, everybody looked like they just were about to attend a funeral. And it permeated to their fans because after the game and throughout the rest of the weekend, all you could hear was, all right, the whole season's over. There's nothing we can do. Like, well, wait a minute. He's only out for 4 games. That's fine.
So you think Malik is going to win a game?
That's
I
tough.
don't know. I have to look at the schedule to see if they can.
It's tough because he's coming over without, he doesn't know the offense or anything. So to get him up to speed without knowing offense is tough.
They already started reaching out to teams about trades. So if they think, which worries me a little bit because they said Jordan Love's only out for 4 weeks. But if you're willing to make a trade to bring someone in, which obviously takes a week or 2 to get them to the point where they can really compete, that maybe might be a sign that Jordan Love is going to be out for longer. But anyways, the point is that the season is not over. I do not think that the North is all that good. We'll talk about, the pick of the century in Chicago later. But, the thing is that this is a very winnable division because I don't think anyone is truly outstanding.
It's tough.
Malik Willis, man, you told me you thought he was a good quarterback, man. He ran a high school offense in college. You did.
Who are we talking about right now?
Malik Willis. Before
I've
he
never
got
said
drafted.
anything about Malik Willis. I don't follow him. I don't know who he is all that much.
Yeah,
so,
I remember that part.
I'm not a Malik Willis fan at all.
Yeah, I remember that part.
And that's, by the way, unlike you, I'm not going to sit there and say that the guy can't play football. I don't know anything about him.
Oh yeah, I broke him down 2 years ago when he got. I broke him down.
You break everybody down. I haven't been a good quarterback since Montana.
Tennessee. If he's so good, how come Tennessee didn't re-sign him?
I didn't say he was so good. You're not listening.
My record on quarterback
I don't know anything about him to say
Exactly. I'm not the only one don't like him. The team that drafted him don't like him. If they did, they would have signed him to another contract. I'm great on quarterbacks. Great.
You guys are
Garoppolo is wonderful too.
Jaden Reed
are spicy. Jaden Reed looked like the real deal, by the way. He had 138 yards. He was a good deep threat. And I still think there's life in Christian Watson. So, like I said, there's things. It's a really, really rough way to start the season to go to Brazil, lose your starting quarterback, lose the game, and then have to have a backup that there's clearly no confidence in. And that's my takeaway from that game.
And real quick, though, I meant to ask you something about the Baltimore game, though. I looked and saw that Lamar rushed 16 times and Derrick Henry rushed 13 times. Don't you think that's kind of odd to get somebody like Derrick Henry, but then don't give him the ball 20 times?
100%.
Because they were tripping.
Yeah, because
they need to figure out a way to get in the ball more.
Yes, that's why you're in that business.
I didn't know why they were running the option like all of us would do on Madden.
Well, but here's the thing. They ran the option a few times. That option was always for Lamar to keep it, and that is a problem.
And also when it was like only 1 yard to get to, 1 or 2 yards.
Yeah, you got to mix it up. I agreed with that 100% because I think he's gonna have a good year. I think both of them, but I will say that it's first week. All the overreactions are at the highest of highs. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's very, 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 very early. You're on the first hole of the golf course. it can't be a record round yet, and you
Oh yeah.
can't have your worst round.
Well, I mean, we both know Baltimore's still gonna make the playoffs. There's, Lamar can still win an MVP. I mean, things can
Yeah.
still happen, but that whole Casey thing is a little different. But I
Yeah,
don't
they
think
gotta
I
get
don't, I don't
together.
understand how you don't give Derrick Henry the ball 20 times. I don't. That's just me.
My
I don't
fantasy,
see that.
my fantasy
Especially when
team
you
is
get when
wondering.
you have the advantage of playing. Sorry. When you have the advantage of understanding how strong he could be, you want to
Yeah.
test out your new Porsche, right?
Right,
Or in
right.
this case, truck. The same way that Philly did. Philly wanted to find out, what did we buy ourselves this summer, and they found out they got a player in their hands. Baltimore, I don't think still doesn't know yet.
Yeah, Chiefs were
Anyways.
loading that box up though. He was running into 20 guys every time. That was crazy.
But yeah, it was still.
So let's
Derrick
slide
Henry.
to the Vikes and the Giants. B, what'd you think about your game?
Look, I was really encouraged by this. As I said throughout the preseason, I'm not sure I believe, but I feel like the team believes that they have some things, and they went and signed some players. They just signed another defensive player to an extension over the last 24 hours. And so, obviously the things I was looking at was, can Sam Darnold run an offense and a team? What Kevin O'Connell did, I thought, was actually masterful, because I do not think that Sam Darnold is as good a quarterback as he looked like at times, but the way that they did the play call, they were really able to keep the Giants defense looking all over the place. They would throw deep, and they would throw mid, then they would give a run, then they would do a screen pass. There were no two plays in a row that felt like they were doing the same thing. And the problem that I've had with their offense for years, including before Kevin O'Connell and including him, was that it was really predictable. They're going to run every first down. They're going to probably run it. If they don't get any yardage, they're going to run the next down. They're going to get to 3rd and 6, and then they're going to go and do a pass where someone runs a 5-yard route, and they don't get to the first down.
Know the feeling.
And it was super frustrating. I was encouraged to see how they split up the carries between Jones and Chandler. Chandler didn't do that much, but Jones looked energetic. He looked like he still has a step left. He looks like somebody that if I were Green Bay, I would probably wish was still there. And Sam Darnold looked solid. He is not, he's not going to be in the best player conversation anywhere near it. But he did look like somebody who can run an offense. He went 19 for 24 for 208 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's respectable. And I think that they have 7, 8, possibly even 9. That's about their ceiling, but 7, 8 wins, more realistic, which is more than the 6.5, which is their line. I wasn't miserable watching it. Whereas this week, as we'll probably talk about later, it might be a little bit of a harder game to watch.
Yeah, true indeed. Coop, what'd you think? You were there.
Man, Sam Darnold was the number 2 rated quarterback this week, according to Pro Football Focus.
Who was number 1? Derek Carr?
Man, Brock Purdy. Come on now.
Derek Carr. Hey, DC was cooking. He had 203 touchdowns.
He was. We could talk about him later, but
we won't.
So there was Darnold looked.
We don't got that much time.
So of course I've seen Darnold play throughout the years, and he looked noticeably different this game. Every time he dropped back, he knew where he was going with the ball, and he let it rip. Usually he doesn't look like that. I'm not saying Darnold's going to play like this every game. And yes, it was the Giants, but if he can keep the Vikings in contention for at least for a wild card spot, he can actually end up starting for another team next year. What's interesting about Darnold, he's been in the league 6 or 7 years. He's still trying to figure it out, but he did say something that was kind of not bizarre, but it was shocking to me. He said last year when he was on the 49ers, he saw Brock Purdy's work ethic and he was amazed. And he said he knew he had to make some changes to his game. And reason why that's surprising to me is because Brock Purdy was only in his 2nd year. And Darnold's been in the league, and the fact that he looked at the 2nd-year player and noticed he had to make some changes to himself, I guess, how he plays the game or how he approaches the game was very surprising. But
respect, Brock Purdy. That's all it sounds like to me.
I mean, but he looked good though. Darnold looked good. Like I'm saying, I don't know if he's gonna play out this every game, but he looked good this week. As far as the Giants, you guys know how I feel about Daniel Jones. Last year it was out of 46 quarterbacks, he was number 46 against the blitz. So I mean,
I think you take Dragonfly Jones over Daniel Jones.
I mean, I would too. I mean, ever since he signed that $160 million extension, Glenn, he didn't throw more touchdown passes to the other team than his own teammates. I'm just saying. But look, like I said, even though it was against the Giants, a win is a win, and it was on the road. I mean, Minnesota was the only team favored on the road this week, and you see why. They're
Can I ask a
clearly better.
question?
Yeah.
You said that Brock Purdy was the highest rated quarterback this week in what?
According to Pro Football Focus, was the best quarterback this week.
Based
Did
on
you
which-
see him
Got
play?
it. So based on their opinion, but not by any statistical measure.
It is
He didn't throw for
statistical.
more yards. He didn't throw for more touchdowns. He didn't
It
have a
doesn't
higher
matter. He
quarterback
played the
rating.
cleanest game. He played the cleanest game. What are you talking about?
You're
So
based on
your
QBR?
opinion is
He
what
only
you're
had
saying,
one
not by
bad
any
drop.
statistical measure.
Pro Football Focus doesn't look at statistics. You can have an 80-yard, you can have a 1 yard
So it's
pass
opinion.
that
That's
goes
all
for
I'm
80
asking,
yards.
Jason. It's just a question.
It's not
man.
opinion.
Guys,
It's on.
spicy today, boy.
How is it a
based on-
fact if they don't use any
It's
statistics?
based on advanced quarterback metrics. Go look on the website. It doesn't lose your statistics, meaning yards. Go
That's
look it
fine. I
up.
just thought it was funny because he was like I think 16th in quarterback rating, like 12th in yardage.
How
I'm
was he
looking
per
at it all
drive?
right here.
We
Purdy only had
hold
one
on.
bad
Hold on.
drive.
We're going to the game anyway. Let me talk about these Raiders and these Chargers.
Go for it.
I didn't know you want to talk about them.
Yeah, I mean it's early, bro. I think everybody. I'm still getting the sky is falling for everybody, right? The Ravens lost one game. Is their season over? I think
Nope.
Henry and them are going to change. The Bengals lost. Are they done? I don't think so. Teams that won. Are the Jets out? They lost. Are we putting the Niners back in the Super Bowl now? They look good, but I still think it's very early, right? People got to get it together. So for me, defense played well. Coop, I was thinking about you. And shout out to all y'all were there. I definitely wish I could have been there, but I'm hopping on this long ass flight tomorrow, so I opted to get some stuff ready for the trip and sleep. But shout out to mom who was there. It was like, I'm too nervous to watch this game here. Typically, you know how much ish I'm talking when we're watching the game. I would have been, man, each shot would have been more about how Justin Herbert is terrible. Dude, our defense is fantastic, which it is pretty good, but bruh does not look. I will give Harbaugh, I like the running game and the quick passes, and Joe Alt is nice. Joe Alt is nice. He was holding his own completely with Crosby, but Herbert don't be doing all that much, man. I gotta say, he had like 140 something yards, 1 TD. Like, bro, I don't know, man. And this is also different offense and all that, but there was not a single long pass thrown. It wasn't great for us. We got to get it together. Minshew with that fumble, they gotta get some confidence on the offensive side, but I think we'll be all right over time. So,
Well, B, what you think? You watched it. We watched it. What you think?
This was a rough game for them. I don't think they looked particularly together, to be honest.
it's early.
But Gardner Minshew did have a higher passer rating than Brock Purdy this week, so there's that. But I do think they need to figure out what they're going to do. It doesn't seem like they have a game plan that they're trying to execute. It felt a little disjointed. I didn't know if they were trying to be a running team or a passing team. So I think establishing an identity would be a good start. It's clear that they have talent, especially on defense. But they on the offensive side, I just feel like they haven't quite figured out what they want to do. Jason, what about you?
Well, how the Chargers played, that's how they're going to have to play all season. They're going to have to ugly up the game, run the ball, and Herbert has to make a few throws in the game. Now, Herbert made some really big throws late in the game that kind of sealed it, but this is exactly how Jim Harbaugh's first year with Michigan was when Brady Hoke got fired. They don't have playmakers at receiver, so you have to play like this. And Glenn, you're right. Joe Alt, he didn't allow any quarterback pressures against Max Crosby. I mean, he did his thing, and Max Crosby, we all know, is a baller. But also, like I said last week when we were doing our preview, what are the Raiders going to do for offense? Because your calling card can't be defense. In the NFL, in the year, defense doesn't matter. Everybody's tired. You have injuries. Who are your playmakers? You know what I mean? So the Raiders still figuring it out. So it's only 1 week, but there's one play though that stood out to me. I don't know if it stood out to you, Brian, if you remember it, but it was 4th and 1 late in the game, and Antonio Pierce punted it. I thought that was a bad move. When you're offensively challenged and you're losing that late in the game, you have to go for it in that situation. And that's how defensive coaches do that, man. They play conservative. Mike McDonald for the Seattle Seahawks did the same thing. You can't be conservative all the time. But I don't know how you feel about this, Glenn. You'd probably be against it. But looking at that game, man, it doesn't make any sense to have Devontae Adams on that team. To me, Max Crosby, I get, but Devontae Adams, if somebody offers you a 2nd and 4th round pick at the trade deadline, you take it, man. Seriously.
Go.
At the trade deadline, maybe, but not right now.
Right. Trade deadline, right.
I think it depends on it's going to depend on what you're going to do and if he's going to leave. I don't know. It's hard because then you're just trying to draft somebody like Devontae anyway. who's already kind of
But you
integrated
can.
into the team. So maybe.
50 million
But they don't
receivers.
cost less. Like it's the Diggs, Diggs doesn't want to be here. He costs a lot of money. We moved him on. We got super lucky in getting Jefferson. But you sometimes you have to try and take that shot. But look, I don't think the season is over yet for them.
No,
so it's just a
Not for
matter of
anybody.
Not at all.
it's just a matter of figuring out what their identity on offense is, because clearly, and we were all talking about it, or mainly you, Glenn, that was talking about it. Like their defense is clearly at a very positive level. They just need not the offense to get to that same level, but to play in the vicinity of that.
That's it, bro. I think they can figure it out. I like Brock Bowers. I like some of the play design. I like all the motion. I think we're all right.
One thing I wanted to give a shout out or acknowledge: Alexander Mattison, who was a Viking last year, looked really good. He had that big play, but it's really interesting to see J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, who were very good running backs for the Harbaugh family, because the last time that they played together was in Baltimore. I don't know it's a coincidence that both of those ended up being the backfield in the Chargers game and played well. There's never been a question about whether Dobbins or Edwards are talented. It was always about whether they could stay healthy.
Injuries, yeah.
So seeing Dobbins healthy and running hard was not a surprise, but can they stay healthy long term?
I'm very curious about this team. I don't think they're gonna.
I'm Chargers.
I'm always gonna. It's my division, and I'm always gonna hate. I'm never going to even front, but.
Well, I think it's easy to hate 144 passing yards from superstar Herbert.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. I just think.
But that's what's gonna be like that all season.
But that's what I'm saying is, how are you gonna beat real teams? You know what I mean? We're figuring it out. It's game one.
Correct.
How are you gonna beat all the teams we got to beat? You know what I mean?
But they're under reconstruction just like you guys. I mean, that team is definitely not set. But Herbert's not gonna have 300-yard game. He doesn't have the people. That's just not gonna happen.
The funnier thing, man, is the more I watch him, I think he's living off his college career. The more I watch Herbert, I think he gets so many breaks that Lamar and everyone else doesn't. Every time Herbert's ever played bad, it's someone else's fault. It's Staley's fault. Oh, he doesn't have these receivers. It's the coaches. Oh, his line's bad. Oh, he was injured. Every time. Brad is not nice like that. So, but it's cool. I mean, I'm going. Hey, I'm clearly stating. I'm not even gonna lie. I am hating, but I watch him a lot because he's in the division, and they beat us before, but I'm watching. I'm like, Brad's getting sacked. He's scrambling. He's not. You know what I mean? He got an arm when he can get there, but he lost that Jaguars game. They were in a playoff game. They was up 27 and lost.
Yeah, they did.
Come on, bro. If
Lamar Alex did that, was up 28 and lost.
But if Lamar did that, if Hurts did that, if any of these other quarterbacks did
Lamar's the MVP.
We would never let it go, though. Why isn't Herbert? Because he's so nice.
But he won 2 MVPs.
But I'm saying, why isn't Herbert?
That. That's the point.
Yeah. Why didn't Herbert? But anyway, let's
Herbert
keep
moving.
We don't got. Well, he should. We ain't got a lot of time left. So
yeah, true. He should.
All right,
Jets and 49ers. I'll go real quick. So
let's get your teams.
Yeah. So
let's go. I'll go through it. Your Bills and Dolphins Thursday night.
No. I'm talking about the Jets and 49ers. I'm talking about the Jets and 49ers.
Oh, that's right.
So,
49ers. I forgot about that. Sorry.
So the highest rate quarterback rate. So Pro Football Focus grades on a per play basis. Did you do what you were supposed to do? They don't care about lucky stats and drives. Purdy only had one bad drive yesterday. He looked in total command of the offense, which I thought he'd probably be a little rusty. Like I said last week, the Jets are 3-7 when teams run for over 100 yards on them. That was last year. So you can't make a living trying to pass against them because their pass defense is pretty good. Niners ran for over 180 yards on them and passed for an efficient 221 yards. They pretty much thoroughly outplayed the Jets. And then Jordan Mason, I got to tip my hat on that. That dude, I've been saying it for 2 years. This guy can play. Shanahan does not play him. I got him in both of my fantasy leagues that I'm in, and he did a hell of a job coming in. He always runs hard like that. I mean, everybody loves this dude on the team, but Shanahan just would not play him. But I guess from what I find out, he had issues catching the ball, but he caught the ball pretty good yesterday. And the one good thing I liked about, I guess the best thing I liked about this game is it forced Kyle Shanahan to use everybody else and not rely on Dan McCaffrey for everything in his play calling. So everybody got involved yesterday. That was the best part of yesterday. Going to the other side, the Jets, the main thing I noticed, I don't know about you, but the main thing I noticed was Aaron Rodgers was a statue. He didn't roll out to make any plays on the run. He used to do all of that stuff pre-surgery. He sat there in the pocket with no movement and no mobility and went 13 for 21 for 167 yards and 1 touchdown and 1 interception. And I'm thinking to myself, if this is the version of Aaron Rodgers that the Jets are getting, people are going to have to temper their expectations about how far that team can go because this version of Aaron Rodgers, it ain't going to get it.
Yeah, they should be anyway.
And it doesn't look like they have any playmakers at wide receiver outside of Garrett Wilson. I want to know where the hell the playmakers are. So I can definitely see them trying to make a play for Devontae Adams. Not saying they will get him, but I can definitely see that because I don't know. But with no playmakers, and they could possibly be over. Their defense could possibly be overrated. I don't know. It's only one game, but there's definitely question marks at head coach. Robert Saleh kind of looked like he didn't know what to do yesterday because the Jets sort of tapped out in the third quarter because they couldn't handle the running game. But I don't know. Like I said, it's just 1 week. We all know that anything can happen, but I don't know. That's just one game.
Devontae should call Rodgers and tell him to come to Vegas. He's going to
you
that
like
Jets
it better,
team.
huh?
But that Jets team ain't nothing to write home about right now. And they didn't even play together a whole year off. So
and I really thought we can lose to this team. I really thought.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I really thought we could lose.
And you know what's funny is that I heard from a couple of my friends who are Jets fans early on, first quarter, like, what am I seeing here? They're looking so good. They're doing so much, you know. And
first drive.
then, you know, then that 13 straight points got ran off in the second quarter by the San Francisco 49ers. All of a sudden, I didn't hear from them anymore. Look, here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers has not been as mobile as people have given him credit for. So he has slowed down, but he slowed down from slow. As someone who watched a lot of his games because he's in the division and watched against him, you know, remember that the reason we have to lay quarterbacks down on pillows now was because Rodgers got rolled up on because he was slow. Now he can still throw a ball. There was a beautiful sideline pass that he threw from the pocket that was picture perfect and just beautiful to see. But he has always been, the Packers were always at their best when they had a strong running game, and they were never able to establish Breece Hall in that game. And therefore, I think that there was more attention on what Rodgers was going to do. And because he is, as Jason called him, a statue, they just weren't able to really make anything happen. I think it paid off to get Alan Lazard there, right? He was the leading wide receiver with six receptions for 89 yards. Garrett Wilson looks like he had some signs of life, but they're going to have to figure out how to get Breece Hall moving and running and get some yardage because Aaron Rodgers needs that. When you look at the teams that have done really well for Packers, they've always had a top 10, top 5, top 8, top somewhere in that, not ever the best, but a running game that gives the little bit of free release for Aaron Rodgers to go and chuck a ball from a more statuesque position. On the San Francisco, go ahead.
No, you good, bro. No, go ahead.
On the San Francisco side, Jordan Mason was incredible. I mean, he still only caught one pass, but he was incredible. One of the things that I noticed and said numerous times was he just runs hard. When he hits sees that hole, he just hits it, and he was shifty. His everything about what he was doing was really, really nice to watch. And then on passing downs, they put in Deebo Samuel as the running back, and he had got the receptions and all of that. So they had their kind of their ability to do that. Deebo only had eight carries, but he also had 5 receptions, and overall had a pretty solid contributing game with 77 yards. And then I don't know who Juwan Jennings was before today. I wasn't aware of him, but 5 for 64 is highly respectable. And what I will say about Purdy, who I don't think was the greatest, but I not bad, but he got it around. He spread it around. There was no way for the defense to be able to figure out if he was going to Jennings or Samuel or Juszczyk or Kittle or Ayuk or Mason or all these people got receptions, and that was because he was finding the right plays, making the right plays. It'll be interesting to see, and I'm not claiming that the Vikings are going to be this challenge, but can he do it when he has a team that's a little bit more astute, which he doesn't really have to do for a few weeks, and hopefully he'll have McCaffrey back.
Shout out to Jake Moody too, because he
didn't miss no kicks.
He was MVP, and I heard people talking about cut him last year because he missed
26 fantasy points for those people who were
the boy. I mean, y'all
doing the math.
It didn't matter because y'all were killing, but I'm sure you'd want more of those to go in the end zone.
Yeah, but I'm just happy he didn't miss no kicks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just
he had plenty of practice.
Yeah,
missing,
Any game you want to run through? A quick hitter. Brian?
talk about y'all game. Let's talk about.
You want to do Tennessee Chicago?
You mean like if there's anything that I wanted to say? Well,
I thought last week. Okay.
Go ahead, talk
I
about Tennessee,
watched.
Chicago.
So for anyone who was in a survival pool, it was a very, very sad day because the vast majority, there was an article about this, of majority of survivor pools were down to single digits, all in one fell swoop because everybody picked the largest spread of the week and took Cincinnati over New England. And that obviously didn't work out. So that game was interesting to me because I had higher expectations for the Bengals, and they just looked confused. And if you're going to look confused against the Patriots, it's going to get real tough, real soon. And it'll be interesting to watch that. So that was one thing that I noticed. I don't know if you had one.
I'll go real quick on it. For the Bengals to lose at home to a team that is universally agreed upon, we all know won't be good, and only scored 10 points in the process, that's not good. I mean, they even gave the coach Gerard Mayo from New England a Gatorade bath. That only happens when people know you ain't going to win the damn game. Okay, people like can pretty much for sure. And he got his first win. And Brissett, it's not like he was great. He was 15 out of 24 for 121 yards, and you lost to that. That's not good. Next game, B?
Well, we could talk about your Bears. They won, but it was ugly.
It was. So my best bet, I actually lost money on this game. My best bet of the week was Tennessee plus 4.5 against Chicago. This was my favorite bet. And Will Levis started playing like Will Levis. He threw the worst interception since Deshaun Kaiser with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, he stayed on his knees and had his hands on his helmet after he threw it. And then people wonder why. And people wonder why I said last week, he's the problem. I don't care who you put around him. This was on full display today. He plays just like he played in college. Bad judgment, doesn't see the damn field. Can't do that in the NFL. He's too rigid. Caleb Williams, 14 out of 29 for 93 yards. God damn. He was the most hyped person after the game, which I don't understand. Ain't like you killed
his first win.
Yeah.
Okay. He wants to win games.
Win is a win, but
that's it.
That game, the game they played, the level they played at, wouldn't beat any other team that was even remotely competent.
Don't matter.
Yeah, and now it does, because now I'm kind of worried because
it doesn't matter for that one. You got the win.
One game.
Now you're worried?
But
you should have been worried the minute you made that pick, man.
He was kind of sloppy mechanically, so I don't know who reins him in because he has a defensive coach. But anyway, whatever. Next game, what you want to talk about?
Let's see. Why don't we go down to what was the one that I was just looking at?
Dallas, Cleveland.
Okay, Dallas, Cleveland. What do you got?
Go ahead. Oh, okay, I'll start. So, Deshaun Watson. When you sign somebody to that type of deal, you expect them to actually know how to play. This dude don't know how to play no more. He threw a ball down the left sideline and almost went to the stands. Now, everybody knows I love Deshaun Watson more than probably most quarterbacks the last few years coming out of college. I love watching him play, but it looks like his lack of massages, Brian, is his kryptonite.
Oh, no, sir. You can't say that because he got another lawsuit just
yesterday. Oh, yeah, I did. I thought from Texas. That's right. I saw that. And now I'm at a point now where I want him to pay hush money to 5 or 10 women to massage him to see if he gets his mojo back, because it's bad. At one point, I don't know if you saw this, but he was on the ground. A teammate was on the ground, a lineman, and he offered to help him up, and the teammate just put his hand away, like, man, get your sorry ass away from me, man.
We'd rather have Randy Watson.
Yeah. And then, so him and Dak actually have the same contract, $230 million guaranteed. They're essentially making the same contract. But I think Watson's contract is the worst deal in the history of professional sports. It passed Gruden. Then on the other side, Dallas is not really much to say because Cleveland is so bad. Dak played a good game and Dallas played a good game, but Cleveland's is a bad team. What you think about it, Brian?
I don't have much to say about that game. You said it all. I did want to talk about the Buccaneers game, though, and just specifically about one player, and that's Baker Mayfield, who threw for 4 touchdowns and almost 300 yards. I have not been a Baker Mayfield fan, but not only did he have a really big game, he looked good doing it. It didn't look like a fluke. It looked like he studied up, did what he needed to do, brought himself into the regular season playing good football, and hats off to him because it wasn't what I was expecting. I didn't think he'd be horrible. I wasn't like, I'm not a Baker Mayfield hater or anything like that, but I just didn't expect that good a game from him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I agree wholeheartedly. I agree wholeheartedly. I don't think he's a number one overall, talented quarterback pick, but he did play a good game. He's actually better than Deshaun Watson right now, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, Baker Mayfield, he killed it. He killed it against Washington. People saying Washington's a bad defense. Okay, but you still got to take advantage of it, and he did. So good for him. And then I'm watching Jaden Daniels. he runs really good. You know, I don't know about his first game. I don't know about the jitters and everything because all these college quarterbacks is just not as easy that coming out of college. So he got that first NFL game. It's not preseason, so
not easy for the pros. Joe Burrow is looking bad. Like it's not easy.
Well, let's jump to this week because there's a few games we probably want to talk about. One in particular.
Okay. Go ahead.
So how about Bills Dolphins on Thursday night, which is a divisional matchup? Two undefeated teams. They're playing in Miami, and Miami's favored by 2.5.
Oh, I was gonna say 3. Okay. All right. What's your thoughts on it?
Give me the Dolphins. The Dolphins on offense looked very strong. They have a very good team. I know I'm a big Bills fan, and I am. I just think at this point in the season, the Dolphins are playing better. They get the game at home. These are things that make a difference.
Yeah, I think Miami has better players on offense than Arizona. In Arizona, I felt that Arizona had a chance, could have beat Buffalo. They didn't, but they made it close. Miami is going to beat them. I think, those safeties for Buffalo are gone. Like I said, they lost a lot of players on defense. Miami's going to be able to take advantage and beat them. And cover
you got a game you want to talk about before we get to ours?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Let's see here. Ooh, that's a terrible game, Giants and Washington. Let's talk about let's just talk about our game, Brian. What you think?
Well, look, but San Francisco is favored by 6, but with the assumption I think is built in that McCaffrey's not going to be there. This is a trap game. I don't think the Vikings are at the 49ers level talent-wise. I think that they played really well. I do think that they can play good football. I would actually take the points and pick the Vikings in the spread because I just don't think that the team is a pushover team right now. And I think that they're a team that's not going to give up. I just don't think that they're necessarily at the same level as the 49ers. So I would take the Vikings in the 6 points. I'm hoping that no matter what the result of the game is, that they can play as well as they played last week with the same variables on offense and show that they're a team with an identity going forward because there are winnable games in the not too distant future. And so that's where I kind of come out with that game.
This might sound crazy, Brian, but if any other quarterback was starting from Minnesota, I would take Minnesota in the points. But since this Sam Darnold, and he was with the 49ers last year,
I think they're going to game plan for him.
Yeah, I believe they know his strengths and his weaknesses and what to take away from him. And that's the only reason I would take San Francisco -6 this game. If the 49ers lost, it would not surprise me, to be perfectly honest with you, because the 49ers can lose any road game anywhere at any time, any place. But for the simple fact, it's just Sam Darnold starting, and he was with the 49ers. I would take the 49ers -6. That's the only reason.
All right. Let's talk Raiders-Ravens then.
Yeah, let's do it.
Baltimore -9.5. That's a crazy spread, but that's for week 2 for 2 winless teams.
Yeah, I mean, based off what you saw, I think you'd probably take the Ravens and the spread. I just want to see the defense be able to corral Lamar. The running game was, and we haven't been able to stop. So I think this is where Derrick Henry could get back on track. It's not looking great. The defense plays solid. If the offense can just be a little bit better, I'm not expecting to win this game. And I still also, I know, you know how it's going to go. Teams that are 0-2 have this percentage win going to the playoffs and whoop. I still think, we got winnable games coming up. I think the Ravens have to get a win right now. They're going to be highly motivated. So, I mean, I don't like betting against my team, but I'm not putting money on it. So I'd say the Ravens. I just want to see the Raiders play a little bit better offense. Just look a little bit more cohesive, be able to score 17. You know what I mean? Just show some improvements, and then defense hold them a little bit. Then, that'll be what it is. And we go to week 3 where we get the Panthers.
Yeah, I would take the Ravens as well. I think the Ravens are going to use this as a get right game, and try and do some new things and try and get some things established.
If I had to bet the side, I would take the Ravens, but I wouldn't bet the side. I'd rather bet the under. I think the Raiders are an under team this year. And so I think Baltimore is going to try to establish the run, not trying to, sling it all over the field. And I think the Raiders are also going to try to run the ball and try to keep Lamar off the field. So I think it's an under game, but the Ravens win.
Yep. Last one we should talk about, because it was created to be a very, very huge game. I'm sure it's supposed to be the CBS game of the week. Bengals Chiefs. And Kansas City. This is not the game that they thought that they were getting,
right.
But it is a big deal game nonetheless. KC's -6.
I'm gonna take KC. Burrow, I think, is 3-1 in games he finishes against KC, and I think Kansas City knows this, and they want to beat them. They want to try to stomp their, put their foot on the back of their neck. KC had a good victory against, Baltimore, but I feel there's some wrinkles that they can use against Cincinnati that Cincinnati hasn't used before, especially by using Xavier Worthy. Cincinnati right now coming off a loss against New England, that's just not good. I think Chase was a non-factor. He still wants his money. Probably doesn't even want to play. Zach Moss, he's an okay running back, not really that great. He's the lead bell cow for the Bengals. Burrow, we don't know if he's right or not. I think KC is the play here. What about you, Brian?
I really want to take the Bengals, and if I thought that the Bengals had a semblance to the team that they were even last year, I would absolutely do it. But the fact that Chase clearly isn't all there, whether it's mentally prepared or physical or whatever it is, but he was very much not a factor, and they need him and T. Higgins and all these pieces to come together to be the team that they are. If they were that team, healthy, mentally right, or whatever, I'm not the same talent, but healthy, mentally right, I would absolutely take the Bengals to at least beat the spread. But quite honestly, I think the Chiefs are going to. I think this could be a big game. I think the Chiefs are going to want to jump out, make a statement. They know that the TV people are going to be watching because it's the Bengals and they have the history that they have against the Chiefs. But I think the Chiefs are going to likely win big in this one.
Now, I do have to ask you a question. So the Rams, Arizona, I'm taking Arizona to win that game. The Rams just play in overtime, and teams aren't really built to play in overtime week one. But the game I want to ask you about is because the spread is confusing to me. It's the Monday night game, Atlanta and Philadelphia. It's Philadelphia -3.5 against Atlanta. Now, actually, it's up to 6.5.
-6.5, yeah.
My bad. It ain't confusing no more. Okay. Well, anyway, since we're on it, I mean, who do you like, Atlanta or Philly on the spread?
Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't buy into Atlanta until the end of the preseason. I wish I hadn't, because this is a script that I could have written blindfolded. But the Falcons are not the team that people thought they were going to be.
One game.
All right.
It's definitely one game, but Cousins is still Cousins.
Yeah. And Fields was fieldy. They barely, they won off field goals. It's still early.
Did you see Justin Fields' pass chart? Did y'all see his pass chart? He threw nothing in the middle. It was all on the outside. Everything was outside.
Why would I look at that, Coop?
Within 9 yards. I just saw it.
Why would I look at that?
All right, moving it on.
Yeah,
all right, Hogwash.
Last couple segments. Give it to me. What's a bunch of Hogwash?
I'll start with the Hogwash. So my Hogwash is going to be two things. Number one, it's preseason. Everybody told me, preseason this, preseason that. I don't watch preseason. The reason why is because guys just don't play hard, and a lot of guys just don't care. They want to get to the regular season. Watching the last game of the preseason and then watching the first game of the NFL season is two totally different sports. Guys flying around the field in week one, nobody's doing that in preseason. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I heard all this hype about Bo Nix. Okay, how well Bo Nix played in the preseason. All I saw Bo Nix do was throw 2 interceptions yesterday and not look that good against Seattle. Okay, this is not the preseason. He was skipping passes, actually, as a matter of fact. He threw 42 passes, completed 26, and only had 138 yards passing. So all that hype, hogwash, because all that hype that he had during the preseason was just meaningless.
That's like NBA action, man. That is fantastic.
You like that, don't you? And then the last hogwash I got is I never discussed this, but I actually despise when people do this. That's calling timeouts when the play clock is running down. Just take the damn 5-yard penalty, because what happens is they take a timeout and they come out and the play still don't work and they have to punt the damn ball. I never understood. To me, that's absolutely stupid, especially in the second half, to take a timeout when you probably need that later in the game. That's just dumb. I hate when teams do that.
Flex to a run or something.
Yeah, I hate it. But anyway, that was my hogwash. B?
So mine is the NFL overtime rule. It is so awful, and it was absolutely a problem yet again over the weekend when that game went down. Both teams should touch the ball. They keep on changing. It's just like, oh, you can't win with this, you can't do that. Both teams should touch the ball. It's really just not that hard to fix. And yet here we are with two teams playing well, going into overtime, and one team, because of a coin flip, where both offenses were kind of moving, and you could expect they were going to score because of a coin flip. One team got to get the ball, the other team didn't even get to touch the ball,
So it's only
and that was the way
playoffs.
that the game was solved.
So they only
Playoffs,
do it in
yeah.
playoffs now.
Playoffs, yeah.
Got it. Where
Yeah.
you get it.
Yeah.
Mine was Miami PD, Reno 911 looking ass, with the brown unis, bro, looking like what did what did Biggie say? Don't be mad, UPS is hiring.
Yeah,
Take
man.
y'all asses over there, man. That's old Cartman. Respect my authority, man. If y'all don't, it's stupid to see, and it's sad it's still happening. I think Tyreek was real when he said, what if I wasn't Tyreek Hill? That's real, but that was just stupid, and it gets tiresome to see.
So many people that I was talking to in various chat groups recognized all the patterns of the driving while black pullover.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there were 3 cops that pulled him over.
Oh, it was everything
for speeding and a seatbelt. Like, really? And then number 2 comes over there and gets wild right off top. Anyways,
I've seen that story many times. I will say, being in Miami quite a bit this year, they do that. Every traffic stop is 2 or 3 cars. I'm like, I don't know what y'all are doing for this dude's on a scooter. Like, y'all can relax. But yeah, it was all of that. B, absolutely. Too nice of a car, dark skin. Yeah, he's still in a coupe. Last segment, minute to win it. Just always a pleasure doing this. I'm glad y'all got to spend some time together during the game. Sorry to miss it. Sorry to miss it, but it wouldn't happen unless it was something like this going on now. So just thankful to be on the show. Thanks to everybody who listens and watches.
Yeah, B, your arcade system is all that. That's right. I know that has nothing to do with the show, but yeah. My man to win it is going to be. I just want to say a real quick hitter about the Rams Detroit game. Matt Stafford is still really good at 36. I mean, really good. He did his thing yesterday. They lost because the defense, of course, was very, very tired. But also on the Detroit side, Detroit, I mean, they're still going to be a player. They won a tough game against a good team. But, I'm around St. Brown running his mouth about his money. And every receiver that was drafted above him, that man went out on national TV and had 13 yards receiving. I'm going to need you to shut up and start catching the damn ball, my man. Go ahead, B.
So I have 2 things to talk. Well, Glenn, did you have something?
No,
you already said it.
I'm done.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know if people have seen, or I saw one commercial and I was doing some research into it, but this Gatorade GX. Yeah. So they now have a patch you put on that reads what your hydration levels are, what your sugar levels are, what your sodium levels are, and then tells you which pod to drink for Gatorade. We have gotten to all new levels when people are wearing patches that tell them exactly which pod of Gatorade to drink to get them back to their perfect place. That is absolutely outstanding to see. It's really cool. It's it's a neat way to use technology for sports and athletics.
Fantastic marketing.
It is 100% marketing, because I guarantee you they'll tell Tyreek Hill to take the same pod as me after I played 5 holes of golf and taken 3 field shots. But it's still very interesting to see and interesting to watch. The other thing is tonight we had the presidential debate. In my opinion, Kamala went into this with only an ability to lose ground because her momentum is going in a great way, and she killed it. And it was great to hear about. I didn't get to watch because I was at a dinner, but it was nonstop. She was strong. What she needed to do was show that she had a presence, a strength, wasn't going to get bullied by idiots. So when she's going around the world, when she becomes the president, that she has what it takes, and she showed that she had all of that. Not that I had any doubt. There was no doubt in my mind. There's other doubt in some other people's mind, and I think she put a lot of that to bed. It'll be interesting to see if she gets a post-debate vote.
Yeah, that's it, man. Appreciate it. Always being in it strong. It's Sports Counterpoints. It's September the 10th, 2024. We'll catch y'all next time. Peace.